Mike Jeffries is accused of using his wealth, power, and status to traffic and sexually abuse vulnerable men for years. Mr. Jeffries was arrested and charged last October along with his British partner, Matthew Smith, 61, and their middleman, James Jacobson, 72. The BBC has since revealed that more than 40 men, including Abercrombie and Fitch employees, have now come forward with civil allegations of sexual assault, drugging, or rape, with claims dating back to 1992, the year Mr. Jeffries started running the company. U.S. prosecutors allege the men used force, fraud, and coercion to make young men, many of whom were aspiring models, engage in violent and exploitative sex acts. Well, we told you Jeffries wouldn't stand trial. Prosecutors say the men were sometimes directed to wear costumes, use sex toys, and endure painful erection-inducing penile injections. Prosecutors say Jeffries, his romantic partner, and a third man lured men to drug-fueled sex parties in New York City, the Hamptons, and other locations by dangling the promise of modeling for the retailer's ads. Two medical experts, one designated by Mr. Jeffries' defense team, the other chosen by prosecutors, both independently assessed Jeffries' condition. Brian Bieber, Mr. Jeffries' criminal defense lawyer, said his client had recently been evaluated by doctors who determined he had Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body disease, and the residual effects of a traumatic brain injury requiring around-the-clock care. But not so fast, said Judge Chaudhary. Judge Chaudhary said in a court order that Mr. Jeffries would be treated in hospital for up to 4 months to see if he's likely to regain competency. Once a follow-up assessment is complete, the defendant could either face trial or the court will weigh next steps. These could include dropping the criminal charges against him or releasing him to home confinement. Dr. Cheryl Paradis, the U.S. prosecutor's medical expert, also independently assessed Mr. Jeffries. His memory impairment almost certainly would cause him to be unable to accurately recall key events and details, she states. Additionally, his inappropriate behavior, which is a symptom of his dementia, could further interfere with his ability to maintain proper courtroom demeanor. He may blurt out self-incriminating statements or engage in erratic behavior, which would undermine his credibility.
The defendants allegedly preyed on the hopes and dreams of their victims by exploiting, abusing, and silencing them to fulfill their own desires with insidious, secret intentions.
Michael Jeffries, his partner Matthew Smith, and their employee ran an international sex trafficking ring and prostitution business. And they used a network of people to make it all happen and to keep it secret. In court today, Jeffries appeared calm, and when the judge told him that he knew his lawyer and he was excellent, Jeffries said, "Good. I'm glad to hear that." 80-year-old Michael Jeffries, former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, looked calm, wearing a navy pullover sweater and white pants, leaving federal court surrounded by his lawyers after the judge ruled he could go free on bond while fighting his sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors agree with his lawyers on a $10 million bond, secured by a house he co-owns with his wife in Fishers Island, New York. Jeffries will be fitted with a GPS ankle monitor and restricted to his home on Palm Beach. The indictment states that Jeffries, his life partner Matthew Smith, and an employee of theirs used their power, wealth, and Jeffries' position at Abercrombie to entice more than a dozen young male model hopefuls to attend parties where they were forced into sex acts.
To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Prosecutors say Jeffries used the promise of being an Abercrombie model to coerce the men into sex, often using drugs. The indictment says their employees scouted the young men from across the world and invited them to parties where they were then forced into having sex with Jeffries and Smith and others.
Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he was.
Civil trial lawyers have told the BBC their clients are dismayed at the criminal court's decision. "We've been speaking with our clients who are disappointed by the decision and still want justice," said Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson, representing 26 alleged victims. The civil lawsuits had been stayed or legally put on pause until the resolution of the criminal case, which takes precedence to protect Mr. Jeffries' right against self-incrimination. While his criminal case remains uncertain, Mr. Jeffries could still face a civil trial or reach a settlement over the allegations. If this was the case, the outcome could lead to compensation being awarded to alleged victims. Mike Jeffries attacked these men and ruined their lives at a point when they were at their most vulnerable and chasing their dreams, said civil case lawyer Brad Edwards. He will still be held accountable by our lawsuit, and his co-conspirators will still face the criminal justice system. Abercrombie & Fitch is also being sued for negligence, with lawsuits claiming that it knowingly facilitated heinous sexual crimes. The company, which also owns the Hollister brand, has previously said it was appalled and disgusted by Mr. Jeffries' alleged behavior. His co-conspirators, Matthew Smith and Jacob Jacobson, may do some time, but as of now, they are all free on bond. Isn't that something? Do you think there should be a hospital in prisons that facilitate the needs of men like Mike Jeffries? Is it fair that he'll, more than likely, spend the remainder of his precious years in the comfort of his home after the trail of destruction he and his co-conspirators left behind? The shades of justice are dark. This is Daniel Heitman for Pearl Productions. Peace.